Eric Brown, welcome. How you doing today, man?
Good. How are you, Denny?
Doing well, brother. It's good to have you on. When it comes to the world of pivoting from the military to civilian world, it's great to see individuals such as yourself that have gone off and gone into the unknown, not settled for just the mediocre existence, but gone on to do some daring and sometimes scary things. You definitely set the standard for going after big things and getting it done. You got a book that just came out a few months back, and when we talked briefly over email, you redesigned your website, Imperial Consulting, moving on to some great things. How you doing, man? What's Eric up to today?
Well, first, appreciate you having me on your show, man. I've seen it grow over the past year. You're doing great things and getting good information out there for folks. It's always good to have positive vibes coming out in the internet space because it's not always positive out there. So
No, it is
appreciate
not.
appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
For myself, I transitioned out of the Special Forces about 2 years ago now. Went on to undertake of starting up Imperial Consulting, where we pair Green Berets with the private sector to help them overcome their challenges and achieve success. Very similar to what you and I did back in our days on the Green Berets and our teams. And today I'm just trying to help as many people as we can and show how we can work by with and through them and achieve what they're trying to do.
Yeah, it's I often hear guys undersell themselves, and they get into this pit of disparity when it comes to transition. They say to themselves, and it becomes this mantra they repeat to themselves: "I didn't do anything big enough. I wasn't that great of a leader. I don't have anything to offer the civilian world. I'm going to struggle. It's going to be horrible." But there's a lot of things that we learned as Green Berets in the military, as senior NCOs, as warrant officers that do translate into the civilian world. And I kind of want to dive into your journey as you were going through your transition. Did you always know that you were going to go into this space, or was it something that took a little bit of poking and developing, and as we like to say, maybe you had to take a security halt and take a knee to figure out what you were going to venture into?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely didn't see myself stopping after 25 years in Special Forces and starting my own company. Always been an entrepreneur. Did a lot of different things, especially in the real estate sector, of which essentially started that entrepreneurial itch of what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But really, what helped me make my decision is going through the Honor Foundation, a nonprofit that helps specifically special operation soldiers figure out what they're going to do afterwards, right? Because it's lacking what's available to us in the community, no matter what service, as you transition back into the private sector. Honor Foundation had a great program. Open your eyes up about what's out there,
Yeah.
and especially with the mentor that you get with that program, right? So I got paired up with a great guy named Guy Hart, the CEO of Plus Delta Partners, to help me navigate and figure out, what am I going to do with the skill sets I have. And you're right, a lot of people, hey, I don't have anything to do in the private sector, I have no idea. I always joke around like, hey, we're the most committed people on the planet. We went in at 18 years old, signed up on the dotted line, and stayed
Yeah.
25 years. And it's hard to flip that switch off because uh, how I've seen is people going into that next job in the private sector to think as soon as they sign their name on, that's their next job for the next 20 years, which really most folks only hold that first job and that transition maybe 18 to 24 months and they move on.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to find your fit, find your passion. And as long as you're doing what you love to do and is doing good in the world, that's where you need to be at. So really, for me, it came into just looking into what I like to do and where I can add value through my time within the Green Berets, and that I always found I liked helping other folks. I really help figuring out different challenges, and I get a lot of self fulfillment from the accomplishments of others, right? Because
Yeah.
by the time you get off a team, your only job is to make sure the teams keep being successful, right?
Yeah.
So that's how coming out, of starting Imperio, because everyone says they're an expert, right? There's quite a few special operators out there and other professions saying they're expert in something.
Yeah.
And that's a tall feat to say. But I look at what do we do really well and what sets us apart than everyone else. We work on small elite teams, and we did that our whole life. And every time we left the team room to go on a mission, it was always something different. It wasn't the same thing all the time. So you got to always adapt and overcome and, work with others. So that's what we do with Imperio.
Yeah. And it's we have to understand too, like being an entrepreneur doesn't always come with a very easy to follow instructions manual. There's a lot of unknowns and a lot of variables, which we tend to forget. That's the environment we work with. That's the environment that we're always found ourselves in. Very rarely do you go on a mission where everything's just absolutely developed for you. And in fact, I will say this: it's not the standard, and no one ever handed you the mission well planned with everything done. You had to develop everything. But for some reason, guys hear the word entrepreneur. A lot of times they think, oh no, that's way too much. When you first started pulling that string, did you see it as like, okay, this is what I'm cut for? Or did you have a lot of fears as well?
Oh, no doubt. You got the fear, right?
Yeah.
Because if anyone thinks they're gonna, that's always, there's a meme about it, I'm sure, all over Instagram and whatever other platform. I'm gonna go to work for myself, so I can set my own hours and do what I want. And then you find out you work 7 days a week, and the work never stops.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I looked at, I like how you put that, right? Every mission you got was always something different. And what was the most successful or the most fulfilling missions you had within your teams are the ones that you fought for, you developed, and made them your own, right?
Yeah.
That's the best. And that's how we're, I think, programmed as Green Berets. Is like, hey, don't tell me how to do it. Just tell me what needs to get done. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then that's the cool thing about being an entrepreneur. One, there's no one way to do anything. And it's always a challenge, right? We strive off overcoming challenge, and that's what every day is something different, right? It's always I can never always laugh when my daughter asks, "Hey, what'd you do today?" And it's like I don't know, just open my computer and just try to make something happen. Because unless you do it, no one else is going to do it. So I really enjoy that, and there's always a new challenge to overcome.
Yeah.
But it is a scary thing, right? Because you're taking that freedom, and but with that, you have to set your own path, and there's no one there to pay the bills if you're not successful. I do miss being on an SF team or in the Army. When I run out of budget in the Army, I just ask for more money, and I always got it. I don't, if there's some fairy out there that can re-up my bank account, I always appreciate it. But yeah, you can always ask for money in the government, you get it. Out here in the world, not so much.
No, there's the budget isn't as forgiving in the civilian world.
I tell people I can do whatever I want. I went from having the Army as my master, tell me what I can do and what I can't do, to now the bank account tells me what I can do and can't do. Not necessarily can't, it just limits how fast I can do things.
Yeah, it's funny. We don't hear enough of the pain points. We see in that social media again. It's a wonderful thing to getting exposure and seeing how other people have done great impossible things, but it always comes with the varnished look of like, I was just. It looks like you were just successful from the very beginning. I had this idea, had this concept, and now look at me, 17 million followers, and the business is thriving. But the reality is, it's not that easy. It takes a lot of work. And with your initial idea, how long was it from start to finish, before you had this like, oh shit, like here's the income, here's the revenue, I've got something going?
Man, I'm still pushing to have that feeling of I got it made. I don't think I'll ever have that. But I would say going into 2025, we've definitely grown over. I mean, As you say, people think it just happens overnight. I mean,
Yeah.
we're going on being 4 years old and still feel like it's almost the first year.
Yeah.
You know, I think it just, when you finally figure out what you have to offer and your value added and how you can get that to the people, I think that's your one of your goals there. And if you're doing good things and you have something that people want, it'll happen. You just got to
Yeah.
keep driving for it and not quit. But you're right. The overnight success, you see an overnight success is 15 years in the making.
Yes.
Um,
So friggin' true.
yeah,
But
because my sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you
just
can.
thinking about my friend Diego, who is with the Trident Approach,
Hmm.
a former Navy SEAL. I remember when I was starting Imperio, I was like, man, I'm gonna have this figured out, in no time. I'm gonna have this and that. And he's like, homeboy, it's gonna take you at least 3 to 6 years to figure out what to turn the lights on. As he was 6 years into the journey, I think
Yeah.
he was super right, of still just figuring it out. But like I said, just don't quit, be value added, do the right thing, and good things will happen.
Yeah. It's understanding the space that you're operating in too. It's a lot of people don't realize that yes, you have a great idea, you have a great concept, but you have to open up the aperture. Look at your customer base, look who you're working for, look who you're trying to go after, and see who's already out there. Uh, which means you might have to have those, again, something that's great from the Honor Foundation, those virtual cups of coffee. Be willing to be a constant
Hmm.
learner, be willing to reach out to people. I've realized in this endeavor, more often than not, like if you reach out to somebody when you have a question where you want to know something, you want to learn, reach out to other human beings. Be willing to connect. It's not that scary, and people are willing to connect with you and
Hmm.
give you some of their lessons learned.
Yeah, especially in that transition period. I tell people in a transition period, that is your time when anyone in the world will pretty much will talk to you, because you're transitioning, you're trying to learn new things. But you're right. If you want to do something, find somebody that's already doing it and talk to them. And you might be, yep, that is what I wanted to do, or oh man, no, that is not what I thought that was. Um, it's just out there. You got to talk to folks, and during that transition period, it's great. I'll tell you, after being out for a little while, it takes a little bit more to get people on the phone, to actually talk about things like that, especially when you own a business, because they, think you're trying to, even if you're not trying to sell them
Yeah.
something, they think you're trying to sell something.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, people are great for the most part. And if you call them like, hey, I want to do this, how'd you do it? They'll help you out. I've not turned down a person yet that's, reached out to me via whatever platform to ask, my thoughts on something,
Yeah.
be it good or bad. And I'll tell them, I mean, like, hey, if you're going into the space of trying to be a consultant, one, figure out what kind of consultant you want to be, because that's like trying to say you want to be in the army with our 200 and some jobs. There's like, I don't even know how many different types of consultants there are, so you might figure that one out first,
Yeah.
and just see what's out there.
Let's dive into that because that's a space where it's almost like that's a word that somebody hangs on to right as they're going out. It's like, I'll just be a consultant. And it's like, oh yeah, I heard about this guy. He works for this company, Deloitte. I'll just be a consultant. It's like, hey guy, pause, pump the brakes. There's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more to it. Like, what got you excited about the consultancy space? Like, what was the thing that you were like, okay, this is it? Because we tend to think that it's such an easy thing. You see the headlines on LinkedIn, for example, and you
Mm-hmm.
see people that you may have served with, they're doing that. And you're like, how hard could it be? And I would imagine that there is some work.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the work one, like I said, figure out what you're going to be and what you're specialty in, change management, leadership,
Mm,
whatever it's going to be. I was drawn to it because I don't like doing the same thing over and over and over. I like new challenges, new problems, new ideas, and that's what you get. Every new client is a new challenge and something to help them figure out. So that's what drew me to the space, and also starting my own company gave me you know the leeway to attack it how I wanted to.
yeah,
I didn't want to go from big army into the next big corporation, just to follow into however they do it. I wanted to do it, the way we do it here at Imperio. So that's what was the big draw, and always just talking to different folks and helping different people, but whatever their challenge is, because it's always something different.
Yeah. In the Army, we are gifted and blessed with 5 million acronyms, frameworks to solve, impossible problems. In your day-to-day life, have you been able to take some of those concepts and frameworks and sort of retool them, reshape them to help you work with these giant civilian customers?
We're still working to get a giant, so that's not to say we're the giants yet. But yeah, man, if you look at what we did, you know, we work a lot in the Army, especially in Special Forces, on leadership and team development. How can you be a better leader? What I found in the private sector, they don't they focus more on how well you can do your job.
Yeah.
And if you're really good at your job, they default that you'll be a good leader, which is not necessarily true. But on where we look at, you look at the military decision-making process, MBMP. We definitely take things out of that to translate into similar the private sector's SWOT with the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. But we did that, and we take from our hard-earned experience through all our deployments and years working, not only on the teams, but people forget we also have to run the organization. So we take all those lessons learned, and that's why we put into the Green Beret Approach of working by, with, and through. And we have our own 4-step processes that you can actually remember and apply to every day of where we, tell folks, you identify your challenge, right? Identify what you're trying to solve for, define your environment of what entails that, and define your risk, and then define a way forward. There's a lot of sub-steps underneath that, but there's those 4 steps right there. If you frame it that way, it's a really good starting point.
Yeah. And it speaks to, all those are just leadership. That's just mentorship. That's everything that you have developed over 25 years of service. You've cultivated this over and over and over again. And I would imagine, and feel free to let me know, did this sort of help you in your transition, being able to dive into something that was already uniquely part of who you were? Did it help you sort of like bypass the identity, the loss of purpose, loss of mission, because it was always within you, and you've rebuilt it and reinculcated to the fact that it's like, this is who I am. I'm a leader. I'm a consultant now, but it's still just, at the end of the day, it's still Eric. Did it help you at all with those issues that a lot of us see ourselves falling on the wayward side dealing with?
No, 100%. If you lose in your identity, right? Because like I said, you did that job for, I'd say, 2 decades. I'm a Green Beret, right? Every day you get up, you go talk to teams, and then if no one's told anyone before the day after you retire, you're not that anymore.
Yeah.
They're not going to call you on the phone. It's a big machine, and it keeps moving the second you step away from it.
Yep.
What you got to figure out is, like you said, what made you who you are, and that is who you are. The finding a purpose. I found my purpose by continuing to help others, right? So I put all my focus and energy into how do I build Imperial to help other folks. So that's where I found my purpose. But yeah, for a little bit after getting out, man, it's really hard of being down and out and be like, oh man, what am I going to do now? Is that all I ever were going to be? What's my next success, right? And then you still get most of us, when we get out, you got some kind of family to take care of, some kind of, kids and this, that, and the other. So you just got to figure it out. So my biggest advice on that would, find what drives you, and then just pour it into it, and good things will come from it. And don't disconnect from your small circle there, right? Keep talking to them, stay in touch, but also in the same breath, don't limit yourself to that one circle that you always known, right? Because we can sit around and talk about how great we were for the end of time. Every weekend you could go to a barbecue and hang out with a bunch of team guys, and we'll have all these great stories, and we'll keep telling them, and we're awesome.
Yeah.
But you're not, you need a little bit of growth from that. So get out there, meet new people that do different things, and you'll learn a lot more from that. And that helps a lot, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. So you just got to keep getting out there and keep trying to meet new people and learn new things.
That's so true, man. I think one of the biggest things like we need to realize is anybody that's pivoting out of the military and going into the great and scary civilian world is you have to establish a network. It can include people that are still in it. It can include some of your older friends, but you have to be willing to get involved in your local community. You have to be willing to get outside and get into that that place of being vulnerable and meeting new people, because
Mm-hmm.
those are going to be your best friends. They're going to have access and placement to resources that you're going to need. Building something from the ground up is not easy. And there are millions of people out there that didn't serve, that they went into this and they've done it, and they've got so many insights and lessons learned. And what are we as Green Berets or service members but lifelong learners? We have to be willing to do that PDSS of going
Mm-hmm.
into your local community and sitting down for a cup of coffee and saying, "Hey, man, you've been a leader within the local community. You've started several businesses. Can I just bug you for a cup of coffee and get some insight?" Because it's not always easy, and we don't have all the answers. I know for a lot of us, we tend to think we have all the answers, but those guys and gals are out there that built those businesses from the ground up. They have a lot of valuable insight. And in Northwest Florida, there are so many people that are just absolutely willing to just sit down with you over breakfast, over a coffee, and just give you everything, nearly hand you the keys of the kingdom when it comes to building a small business.
Yeah, man, it goes back to what are we as Green Berets? We go out and work with the people and figure it out by with and through. And hey, they do it don't do it our way. Let's see how
Yeah.
you do it, and we'll just go from there. Why doesn't that translates back into when you get out of the Army, you're going into your new way of life. Find the people that are doing it, see how they do it. You'll pick up some things that'll apply to you. Other things won't. Take the good and just keep moving, man. Just keep
Yeah.
talking to people, and I think that's one thing that sets us apart as Green Berets is because if you didn't figure it out on a team and you didn't stay on a team very long, that your network's super important,
Yeah.
and you're not going to go to another country and tell people how to do what they do.
Oh yeah.
Right. So once you get over yourself and can do that in your own private life, it'll go really well for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Going
thought I
in.
had all the answers when I got out, for sure. Uh,
Yeah, a lot of us tend to do.
mhm.
When you started going through and building out your business plan, what were some of the other resources you utilized? I know we both benefited greatly from the Honor Foundation. And if you go to episode description, once this goes on live, you'll see a link there. I highly recommend it because I know how valuable and how just powerful it is to go through that program. It really, really, truly helped me. It's helped Eric.
Mhm.
So please, once you're done listening to this, or even now, just pause, go to the episode description, click the link, and check out the Honor Foundation. But there are so many other resources out there. Did you find yourself utilizing anything in the local area or online to help you with, becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, man. Online, like you said, mentioned before on LinkedIn, of looking at what other people are doing.
Yeah.
I rely heavily on finding a mentor, right?
Hmm.
And I had both of both worlds, right? My mentor, Guy Hart in the private sector, you know, revealing to him like, hey, what I'm trying to do. And then Aaron Bush, who I worked with in
Oh, no
special
way.
forces, right?
Yeah.
Still a mentor and still connected of, just balancing stuff off them. So one big thing when you're getting out, find yourself a mentor or two or three that you can bang ideas off of and get, real feedback, not sugar-coated feedback. Because sometimes you'll have bad ideas, and it's better to work that out before you run headlong into something.
Yeah.
And I found some success, right, of starting off there in Northwest Florida in Niceville, of working in the local community and going to different business owners and talking to them, and and those things, and getting out there. And if you can find events to go to, be it a trade show or something that's involved in what you want to do, go out there and see it, man. See it firsthand. And you'll get a lot from that.
Yeah. It's important to remember that no matter how big the dream is, or how scary it seems, it's doable. You can, with the right resources, with with the right attitude and mentality, you can accomplish this dream of being a small business owner. You can do it. And I think it's very well suited for our service members, especially our Green Berets. That's why I always tell people, like, be willing to look at every possible opportunity. Yes, getting a job right after you get out is very important, but don't discount maybe going into it into your own business, creating something from the ground up. Yeah, but it does come with some heavy work. It does come with some stressors, and we have to talk about the things we can do in order to maintain a good headspace. Because I would imagine that there were probably a lot of late nights and a lot of episodes of Eric being very frustrated.
Yeah, man. Still are, man. It's like I'll tell people it's like a roller coaster. It's like things are going great, and then oh my, what happened? And it keeps going up and down. But yeah, as long as there's more good coming at me than bad, then I'm all right.
Yeah. What are some things that you lean on to this day to help keep you in that right mindset?
Just make sure keeping the right mindset is just keep looking inward on myself to make sure what I'm doing is value added and it's positive, right?
Yeah.
Make sure it's out there and it has a purpose, more so than just bringing a paycheck in, right? Obviously, we're capitalists and we have to make money to provide for ourselves, and we want that higher standard of living, right? You want your kid to be better off than what you were, right? Keep building up in life, but find some purpose that underneath that is what we call a double bottom line, right? What you're doing on top to make the money, but what's the goodness, the foundation, and the positive and the good that you're putting back into the world. For me, keeping grounded, I keep my network of small friends to keep bouncing off them and talking to them. That's the main thing I do, is make sure I'm beating back and trying to stay positive and take care of yourself, man. Make sure you go to the doc and everything you're supposed to do, because you can lose focus on that real quick.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's really biting all of us in the ass is the staying healthy, staying fit. Because we all do it. I did it. As soon as you get out, you sort of lick your wounds. You start getting your VA appointments, and working out falls to the wayside. You stop working out. You stop being active, and then everything else kind of takes a hit too. I didn't realize it until I got to the point where I'm like, oh wait, like I'm prioritizing everything else but my physical well-being. I'm prioritizing everything else but my fitness. And it really takes having that Green Beret or that friend that says, hey man, like, let's get back in the gym. Let's get back to working out. And we have a mutual friend. I'm going to give a shout out to Terry Wilson, because it really does take having that friend that's willing to say, hey man, like, let's get back to the gym. Let's get back to eating healthy. Let's get back to feeling good. Because when you feel better, you actually put a little more effort in what you're doing. And dude, it took me sitting down with Terry and lining out like, hey, when are you going to sleep again? Like, what times are you going to sleep? It's like, fuck, you're right. Like, I haven't been going to sleep on time. I haven't been eating right. I haven't been working out. And I mean, what better friend to have in that space than somebody that lives and breathes it, man. Terry gets after it every single day. But the reason why he's able to do that is because he prioritizes his sleep. He prioritizes being able to eat. And that's like, again, that's one of the great things of being plugged into your Green Beret network, or your veteran network, your friends. Because man,
now
they'll
that you're
hold you
out,
accountable.
you can do it anytime you want. You don't have to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
You can do it at 8 o'clock at night if you want to. And if it's not the gym, it could be outside hiking, it could be riding a bike, whatever. Just and be active, right? And it's a good time to let off some of that stress and clear your head and of whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that gets you active, gets you moving. Just picking up heavy things and putting it back down, awesome. Just running really fast or running really slow outside, awesome. Just do something. Because if you get in this routine of just staring at problems all day, it'll get to you after a while.
Oh, dude, 100%, man. Like it can get really depressing really fast if you let it. If you focus on all the bad, that's why I tell people that are in the space, like there's, especially if you're by yourself, there's a lot of individuals out there that are doing something where there isn't a huge team, where maybe it's just you or one other person, and it's understanding that you have to have, before you close out the lights in the office and before you end it for the day, you have to have a win. Like even if it's you checked your emails and you knocked them down from 100 down to 50, you got to give yourself a win for the day. You're doing something that doesn't come often enough with instructions. Being willing to give yourself that checklist that includes at least saying like, "Hey, I had one win today or two wins." Leave your office with a win. Don't go into the next day or don't go into bed thinking that you're a failure as an entrepreneur. Like, dude, you're doing something that requires a lot of freaking work. And oftentimes you don't have an executive assistant. You don't have
Yeah.
somebody to make the phone calls. It's just you. Like when you're in those hard days, Eric, what are some of the things that you constantly reflect on to keep you moving forward?
One is a little tongue in cheek. I always think no matter how bad it gets, no one's shooting at me. Uh,
So true.
as I'm driving my car down the road, I don't have to worry about it blowing up on an IED. But yeah, man. So no matter how bad it gets, no one's shooting at me. So
Yep.
it's you figure it out, right? Take a breath, uh, step back, dissect that challenge is whatever is in front of you to try to figure it out. And if you need help, don't be scared to ask for help. Like
Yeah.
somebody will give you their either good 2 cents or bad 2 cents, but they'll get your head right.
Yep.
I did that, believe it or not, yesterday of trying to figure out a problem. I called another former Green Beret, Jesse Drake, uh, who's doing it in a different space than I'm at. And I'm like, hey, man, how are you doing it in your space? How are you doing X? He's like, well, I do it like this. I was like, well, man, that's kind of how I'm doing it. Oh, okay. I am doing it the right way. Well, never mind then. Good to go. But just getting
Yeah.
that check, right? Finding somebody and just calling them, hey, how do you do this? All right, cool. Because I found a lot of times you don't think you're doing the right things, but you are. But there's no one there to tell you you're doing it right, right? And a lot of us are like too proud or whatever it is
Yeah.
to ask. Uh, it just takes time, right? We're used to, in the military, of you get a mission, plan for it, prep for it, execute, next mission.
Yep.
And then out here in our space now, it just takes a little bit longer for things to move along. So just gotta be happy, like you said, get those small wins until they add up to the big one.
That's right. Yeah, it's you're the GFC, man. And I tell guys all the time, it's like, hey, maybe you didn't have that rotation where you were a team sergeant. Maybe you didn't get that feeling like you had the ball and you're making the calls, but now you are. Now that's you're the guy in charge. But the guy in charge has a lot of mentors. The guy in charge has a lot of people that he leans on for support. Be
Mm-hmm.
willing to be that guy also means you have to be willing to ask for help. Be willing to go online and search for those courses. Like Syracuse University has an entrepreneurial course. There are grants you can use for startup funds. Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to open a high interest rate credit card to launch your business.
Yeah.
You don't have to. But when we are looking inward, when we're only focused on just us and our own thought process, we only see few opportunities. Be willing to open up the aperture, be willing to reach out to people who've done it before you, and you'll find out that there are programs that, hey, you can get funding, you can get
Yeah.
resources. You are not alone in this. Now more than ever, it's a great time to be a business owner if you're willing to take on the work and you're excited about doing something that has a lot of ambiguity in
Yeah. I
it.
mean, and you have to start, the next new thing, man. It's a big push
Yeah.
right now of buying into existing businesses. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
don't look at the big sexy ones. Look at the ones that are always there. They'll always make money. Your
Plumbing.
HVAC companies, your plumbing companies, uh, those type of things, they're not going anywhere. Uh, and the folks that are twilighting out, some of them don't have families they can give it over to, or they just don't want to deal with it anymore. So it's an opportunity to, if you wanted to be a business owner, step into an existing business and into a space, figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can start from scratch, and there's nothing wrong with that. Awesome, do it. And But there's other opportunities out there too, where you can step into existing businesses and do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that's great. I'm seeing that there's a few Green Berets that are getting out and they're doing exactly what you just said. They're going into HVAC. They're going in the, they're putting together a team and buying a company that's being ran by somebody that wants to get out, that wants to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. Like, not a lot of people want to be a plumber, but not a lot of people know how to unclog their own pipes, how to do their own
Yeah,
plumbing.
and you don't have to be the plumber. You just have to be
Yeah.
the guy that can run the
Yep.
plumbers. It's like,
Exactly.
when you're the SF team leader, he doesn't know how to, he's not the same as the 18 Bravo weapons sergeant or
Yep.
the 18 Charlie engineer, but he's a leader and he can manage those folks. So there's nothing saying you can't. You might have a little bit of knowledge about the space if you can manage people and be able to think through problems and overcome them. Hey, get
Yep.
out there.
Absolutely. Now, before we run out of time, I do want to dive into your book, man, the Green Beret Approach. It's something I always tell guys, like, don't discount what you've learned throughout your career, especially our senior warrant officers and senior NCOs. Like, you guys have done a shitload in the past 20 years. You guys were getting after it, and you've developed an understanding and framework for how to make highly successful teams. We always focus on the general officers. We always focus on those larger than life personalities. And yes, that they can be credited for a lot of wins, but on the ground, where it really
Yeah.
matters, it's those tactical level leaders that did so much, and we're not hearing their stories, and we're not hearing their lessons learned. So when I see somebody like yourself that writes a book that gives somebody, a practical guide for leadership and how to go after things, I definitely want to hear about it. Like, when did this first come into fruition? When did you think to yourself, like, okay, I'm going to write this book?
It came to when you're out there and you're doing things, and mine came down to a couple other folks in my close personal space put out their own books, and I was like, man, I'm lazy, man. Why haven't I done that yet? When it came, and I reached out to a Green Beret way before us that is an author and very successful author. I was like, hey, how did you write a book, man? He's like, hey, one word at a time. And I took that I was like, all right, and wrote it little bit by little bit and to turn into something. And, what are you going to write a book about? And I was like, well, people try to make everything super complex. So let's just do something, practical approach to leadership of going into those, the values that we preach here in Imperio of simplicity, adaptability, and collaboration. And just going through that, share that, and put some aspects of what we did in special forces, and then some examples of business that ties together, just to give some kind of framework out there for folks to look at. So yeah, man, it is a big thing for me, an accomplishment to do it. It took a little while, but happy to do it. It's out there, and it helps too when you're out there with a new client of like, hey, yeah, all this in your head. Well, it's also here in this book, and you have a copy of it. Like,
That's smart.
and right
That's
now we're in the
smart.
process of adapting. We have a virtual platform where we do one-on-one
Oh, no
consulting,
way.
but we're also looking of doing a full sequence of a leadership course that'll tie into a virtual and in-person thing. So that came out of the book. So
That is
Tim, I appreciate you
awesome.
bringing it up, and then go out
Yeah,
there on Amazon and check it out. Nothing
absolutely.
cooler than tell your kid you got a book on Amazon, whether it's a good book or bad book. I got one.
And the thing that I love too, it's not a book where it's like, oftentimes, and we see it. I look back to the guys like John Stryker Meyer, the guys that wrote stories about SOG. Those books, those stories got a lot of us interested in becoming a special operations warrior. Those books, those are great, but we need books that can be digested to help others within the business space, help others when they're trying to understand, like, how can I become a better leader? The SOG is great for influencing and helping us create the next generation of warriors, but you're not going to walk away with leadership principles. You're not going to walk away with ideas and how I can be a better manager. And with your book, it's very much that. It's giving somebody ideas and a framework. Okay, I can do something better today that will help me and my organization be better and more profitable. And that, like you said earlier, that ties in perfectly with Imperial. That ties in perfectly. Being able to give that prospective customer, like, hey, look, like, you want to get with us? Like, here's what we're about. Here's a book.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect tool for that,
And
man.
we worry at that too. Of a lot of folks in the space are very theoretical and preach, hey, all this really high level stuff that's not really like applicable that day.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we take more of an approach of using military language, a more tactical approach of like, hey, what are you doing? All right, let's look at it. All right, now take these steps, and now you can go execute a solution.
Yep.
So it's, we tell folks, you work with us Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You can put it into action what you learn on Monday.
Yes.
So it's getting after it and trying to come up with a solution that's executable as quickly as we can. Not saying it's not, you can't still tackle complex problems, but you got to get the ball moving. So
Yep. Exactly.
that's how we look at it, right? You can't finish something if you don't start something.
Yeah, you can't wait 2 to 3 weeks then implement something. People want something they can start working on, like right now. Real tools that help and give and bring about real solutions. If people want to work with you, Eric, where can they go, and where can we find out more about your company?
Best place now, the website at Imperio-consulting.com. We got our success stories in there, what we do, how we do it, and you can get in touch with us there. The other main space that I'm really active on is LinkedIn, whether my own personal page or the Imperial page. Reach out, and we'll get with you. We do everything from personality assessments like the Hogan assessment,
Oh, nice.
the NEO inventory, one-on-one consulting, in-person, virtual, whatever you need, we got a solution for it.
That's outstanding. And do you guys have any additional social media assets?
Yeah, but we're not successful like you on them, man. But we're figuring it out. There's some, out there on Instagram and X, but still figuring out how to be value added in that space that doesn't match what's normally there.
Perfect. Well, if you guys pause, go to the episode description. You'll see all those links there. Please reach out to Eric. I'm telling you right now, if you go on LinkedIn and hit him up, he will respond back. There'll be a link to his LinkedIn and to Imperial's LinkedIn on the episode description. So please take a moment. And as always, please, 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 as soon as the episode drops, share it with your friends, share it with any individuals that might see added value with working with Eric. Because I'm telling you right now, he will not only improve your ability to be a better leader, but your organization's. Eric, I can't thank you enough for being here, brother, and for being an amazing role model to all of us who are out there navigating the murky waters of being an entrepreneur, man.
No, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And keep doing good things, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to all y'all listening, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time. Till then, take care.